Juan is an activist and an educator. He's always been a strong proponent of higher education, and he is himself a prime example of the importance of education and how knowledge can open doors. Juan has been a columnist at the New York Daily News since 1988. He has won numerous awards for his investigative reporting, including the George Polk Award in 1998. He served as president of NAHJ from 2002 to 2004, and he is one of those founders who met back in San Diego in 1982 to create this National Organization of Latino Journalists. Juan's most recent book, Fallout: The Environmental Consequences of the World Trade Center Collapse, documents the cover-ups on behalf of the EPA and government officials about the health hazards at Ground Zero here in New York. He is also author of the book Harvest of Empire: The History of Latinos in America. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Juan Gonzalez.
Good evening to everyone. And I normally try to prepare some remarks. I haven't prepared any. I just want to leave a few thoughts with you this evening. First of all, my deepest appreciation to Soledad O'Brien and to John Quiñones for their willingness to step forward and provide some additional scholarship money for future journalists and members of NAHJ, the student members of NAHJ. Soledad I know only from her wonderful work on television. John is an old running buddy of mine, and he knows how, when I was president of NAHJ, I put a lot of emphasis and stress on individual members who have succeeded stepping forward and showing their community and their fellow colleagues the responsibilities that we all have to assure the success of the future generation. I also want to say that I'm really deeply saddened by having heard that the Rocky Mountain News will be closing. Those of you who know the work that we tried to do in NAHJ with the creation of the Parity Project know how essential the Rocky Mountain News was. John Temple, the editor and publisher of that newspaper, became a dear friend of mine. John is a conservative Republican from the far west, and I am, for those of you who know me, a radical Puerto Rican from the east. We developed a wonderful and close relationship and a commitment to the same idea that Latinos were not being portrayed properly by our nation's news media. When we began working with the Rocky Mountain News in April of 2003 as the first Parity Project newspaper, they had 11 Latinos in their newsroom out of a staff of 204. I know that paper well because we went over the numbers repeatedly with John. Within a year, they had doubled the number of Latinos in their newsroom to 22. They went up to, I think, as high as 25 within a few months. And so it is really a tragedy that the Rocky Mountain News, which was really exemplary in trying to change the composition of their newsroom and the quality of their reporting about the Latino community in Denver, has closed or is closing. I also want to say I'm just a warm-up for the fantastic speakers that you're going to hear after me, and not only Lin-Manuel Miranda, and I want to remind the NAHJ board members, as Ivan reminded me, that several years ago, when I was still attending the NAHJ board meetings, I told them about this new play that I had seen off-Broadway called In the Heights. I said, listen, you all are in New York, you ought to go and see this thing because this thing is great. Unfortunately, many of them were not able to attend, and now Ivan says he's kicking himself because he didn't realize what a great show was going to turn out to be. But that future generation is coming up. I just want to tell you that the parting words that I have to you is that this has been a tough year for those of us who are in journalism. It's a tough year, and it's going to be an even tougher year for the media industry in America. But, you know, for the last 5 or 6 years, I've been working with Joe Torres, a former staff member of NAHJ, on a big book on the media in America that will be coming out this year. And so I've had a chance, an opportunity to really study what has been happening to our industry and our profession, not just right now, but historically in America. And we went back to the first newspaper in America, Public Occurrences, in 1690 in Boston, up to the present internet age. And one of the things that I've really begun to understand is that times of crisis are also times of opportunity. A lot of people are losing their jobs in the newspaper industry, also as well as in television and radio, because the technology is changing, the economics are changing, and one of the things that I've begun to really grasp is that technological advance is itself a destabilizing element in any society. Every new advance in the technology creates upheaval in the existing order. And we are now going through that huge technological upheaval, just as originally the first newspapers, when they began developing, then when the telegraph developed, then when radio developed, then when television developed, then when cable developed, and now as everything is merging into the internet. Every technological upheaval requires for the government and the policymakers to rewrite the laws and the system of operation, which is what we are engaged in right now with the new Obama administration. The key to the future of coverage for people of color and for us as journalists in being able to properly and adequately portray what is happening in our communities is to understand that we've got to participate in the debate on the future structure of our media system. And that is the pressing issue that will resolve everything else. The young people, it doesn't matter what platform you work in, stories need to be told, information needs to be dug up, it needs to be put into intelligible fashion so that people can act as citizens aware and knowledgeable about what they are voting on and acting on. So there's always a need for storytellers and reporters. The platforms don't matter, but we've got to first get our lawmakers to develop the proper rules and regulations for the media system of the future. Those of you who are young journalists here, think about that. Don't worry just about writing your stories. Don't worry just about pleasing your editors. Think for a little bit about what the structure of the media system and the industry that you are involved in will look like when you are as old as I am, or as old as John is, or as old as some of the other folks are. Because if you don't think about it now, you'll suffer the consequences later. Thank you.